We are going to welcome you back to the Principals Podcast. I am extremely excited. It is Thursday when we always have this podcast. Last week we had Coach Hewitt on, and this week we have very special guests where we are talking kind of the evolution of the Chardon High School quarterback. And so we have the only people that have been a quarterback in this group here. I have actually been in school with all of them. So we have Scott Neal, class of 96. He's here. Say hello, Scott.
How's everybody doing?
We have Brett Whitig, class of 98, and also a high school coach here. How you doing, Brett?
Good. How's everyone doing tonight?
Excellent. So then we go into the next realm of grades. We have Drew Fechik sporting his champion hat and his Hilltopper hoodie in Marietta. How are you doing, Drew?
Great. Glad to be here.
And then we have the combination of Zoran and Alex, who have been splitting the realm between this year. Zoran helped out last year. We have Zoran Vuoklia and Alex Henry. How you guys doing?
Good. How's it going?
Good. Excited to be here.
And also, I do have my co-hosts. We have one that's been excited all day for this podcast, Mr. Hyam.
Yo. Bondi, it's up to you.
And Bondi, what's going on?
Hi, guys.
All right, so probably we should just have Bondi ask all the questions.
Yeah.
But I'm really, really excited to talk a little bit about this. All of you have been so instrumental into the Chardon High School program, and you believe and have instilled inside of your heart the culture of Chardon High School football that has been really born out of a lot of hard work. And I'm not saying an individual coach, but kind of the bread and butter of the original coaching staff that kind of started this evolution back with Bob Doyle and his staff. And some of those guys are still around helping. And then through the kind of the infancy narrative of the born of all of these coaches, including Brett and Mitch, who have played under them. There's something special here in Chardon, and you would have to be from Chardon to understand it. Everyone says when you go to Canton McKinley or you go to these other schools that they have a different culture. Our culture is born out of hard work, work ethics, and precision. So tonight we're talking the quarterback. Minus last year with a quarterback that threw for over 200 yards in a single game, which is unheard of. The evolution of the Chardon High School quarterback is you have to be a mad scientist, a chess player, swift with your legs, and soft with your hands on various plays. So I want to start with Scott, since he is the elder. Scott the elder, class of 96. However, we graduated together. What was it like to go from, as we were sophomores, freshman year, like that 0-10 senior class, to your class, our class of 96, but a lot of great juniors, class of 95, and seniors to go for undefeated season? What role, not only does the team play, but also what did the quarterback's role in 96 look like? Was the offense any different?
Well, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of ground to cover there. I mean, I think the offense was drastically different back then. We were under center all the time. We didn't play out of the shotgun. We were very traditional wing T all the time. But I think there were some similarities in that, we were going to run the ball. I think that's what they do now. They run the ball. They make the line of scrimmage. They have offensive linemen. And I think that's been one common point. So I think that's the difference in the offense, or the similarities in the offense. But back in the early to mid 90s, I mean, we sort of felt like there was something there, even though, with my freshman year, we were 0-10. But we always felt like it was coming. Younger guys were coming. Our class was coming. The senior class, the 95 class, that year we always thought, hey, something is coming there. So that 94 or 93 season when we went to the semifinals, it was kind of like, okay, now we planted the seed and then we're here and now it's just putting the polish on it. So I mean, that's what I'd say.
So Scott and Brett, now you guys were kind of working in the same huddle, kind of like how Drew, Zoran, and Alex have all been under the same roof at the same time. What were some of the things that you were learning both from Scott, Brett, and you were learning from your own specific style? Did you bring something different that Scott was very good at with read option, making short passes, understanding his role, that your class brought? What did you bring differently to the 98 season?
So for me, I actually grew up with Scott as my neighbor from the time that we were 8 or 9 years old playing in Lions Club football. I'd say the offense that we ran was very similar, very, very run oriented. But it for my junior and senior year, I would say we threw the ball a little bit more. I had a pretty decent arm, so we did more bootlegs and threw the ball a little bit more than maybe Scott did when he was in school. But that was pretty much. Other than that, the offense was pretty much identical. I tried to emulate Scott, his ball fakes, the ball handling, and the misdirection and deception of trying to hide the ball from the defense. That was one of the things that I really focused on. And I really try to get our guys to focus on now as a coach.
And you were able to learn more of this by you went off to play in college, and then you went to coach the college level before coming back to the Chardon level.
Yeah. So when we were in high school, we ran the wing tee. Obviously, then I went to Mercyhurst University, where I went 5 years in a run and shoot offense. So I went from never taking a snap from the shotgun to taking 90% of my snaps in a shotgun. Throwing 50 times a game. So it was complete opposite. And after I graduated, Coach Mack, who's now with us with the freshmen, recruited me, and I ended up helping him out for 10 years at Lake Erie College, where we ran a spread wing offense that was a little bit wing tee concepts and run and shoot concepts. So it was a nice blend of my knowledge and experience from playing. And then when that opportunity ended at Lake Erie, it just kind of made sense to come back home.
Which has been awesome since, coming back home, you're able to work with all these players, specifically, the ones that are in front of you in the screen, Zoran, Alex, and Drew, but not to mention, we've had some outstanding high school not only coaches, but players and quarterbacks. Some that aren't even here. We have a Tony Fisher Award winner that has been a Chardon High School quarterback. But last year was something special. Drew, last year was a unique year with, we'll just say it's in COVID year, where we had adjusted everything. But the one thing that didn't adjust was the mentality and preparation of that class, which included Alex and Zoran. So 26 guys that you graduated with. Tell us a little bit about pretty much the three of you are going to talk here in a moment. What you ran last year is pretty much what we're running this year with some adjustments. So your junior year, let's go back a year before. What was your primary role?
Drew.
You lost your audio again, buddy.
My junior year,
There you go.
I played corner. I know I was hurt for the first few games, but then I came in at corner, and that was different for sure than last year. Just having fun running around on defense under Coach Landis, and then towards the end of the year, I started coming in at like Wildcat, rotating in a little bit at quarterback. So that was really cool as well. I would say definitely my junior year, we barely threw the ball. But we obviously have some weapons. Brady, Nathaniel, they're both huge, easy targets to throw to. So I thought that we could definitely do that more in my senior year, in which we obviously did.
Which ended up being a quite memorable season, as we're all aware, going into overtime to win the state championship in a COVID year. It was such an extraordinary game, the best I've ever seen to this point. Alex, you were on that team. Zorn, you were on that team. You had great leaders in front of you. Great leaders. You have taken that leadership and taken it to a new level. Zorn, what I like about what you bring is that you're very versatile, but you are definitely a very vocal leader and a genuine leader, and people look up to you for your leadership, whether it's coming out from down the hill and doing the cadence and routines of preparation before you run through the tunnel, all the way through whether you're in special teams or you're being called in to be the quarterback, snapping the ball. And then Alex, the same thing is that you as a junior have learned a lot from the guys that have gone before you. Talk about you two, talk about this year, the mindset and the preparation that you have put forth to make this such a special season. Any of you guys can start, Zorn or Alex.
I mean, we really put in like a lot going into the season. All throughout the season, it's always just been like you're the forgotten class. You're the class that nobody thought could do anything, because like Drew's class was incredible and they graduated so many people, and there was a lot of doubt coming from everyone except the strong like senior junior class that was coming up. Like we were all tight, we were all lifting like a bunch, and we knew that we had huge roles to fill coming into the season.
Yeah, and I feel like to add on to that, like I feel like the off season's what really like made our season go where we're at right now, because like it was kind of like we would just like go to everybody's just to lift. We were in that dungeon deadlifting. I feel like that made a difference a lot.
And so now everyone that's a Chardon grad here in front of us have all been in this position. And so I would like, before we transition to Doug Snyder and who's now joined us, Doug Heim, Amanda Bondi. Scott, you spoke to the team last year. You've talked to a lot of them this year throughout the year. You've been very present. Brett, you're the coach. So you're telling them technical skills, reads, how to, the execution of things, but you're also motivating them about the big game. Drew, you've talked to almost all the people in this room, specifically about how to prepare yourself, mind, body, and spirit for this game. And Alex and Zorn, you've played in this game, but you've played in it differently. So Scott, Brett, Drew, what would you say to Alex and Zorn as they are preparing for, at this point tomorrow night, the outcome will be the outcome, but at 3:00 it's game time. Talk to them about what they should be doing, which is probably much doing what you always do, because I think routines matter. Scott, anything you want to add to them?
Yeah, I mean, and I think I mentioned this to Drew last year when we did this podcast. Just to have confidence in your preparation. I mean, that's the one thing about playing for this organization is that you know that you're well prepared. So you can go into the game, know that you're prepared, have confidence in your ability and your preparation, and that allows you to play loose and fast. So that would be my, I think I mentioned that to Drew, and he did that, I mean, to its utmost last year, the way he played in that game. And I think these guys can do the same because they're prepared and they're ready to roll. So just go out and do it.
I'll go to Drew first. Drew, you literally a year ago, right around this time, you experienced this. You took the advice from others. What advice do you have as a young guy at Marietta, still playing the game, wearing your champion hat, Chardon Hilltopper gear, talking to your buddies there, Alex and Zorn?
Guys, I would just say playing at like in an offense like Chardon has, you don't have to throw the ball 50 times a game and all the pressure's on you. You know, that was kind of my mindset going in. Like, I had guys that I could count on, like if I was getting the job done. And so I would just say, you know, just don't really change anything. You know, I mean, how many people can say that they've played in a state championship in their lifetime? So just take a second. I definitely did this last year, just to look around and just to see all the people there that support you and are excited for you. So just don't take this for granted and just don't really change anything, man. Just do your thing. You guys will be good, and I'm excited to watch tomorrow.
So this is a long season this year, 16 weeks plus the 2-a-days that went before that. It is truly an NFL season, taking a lot of toll. Brett, is there anything specific that you've had to tell this group that you would have changed from last year's group?
I don't think so. You know, our preparation week in and week out is pretty much the same. You know, at this point now, we're going at it, you know, for 16 weeks, like you said, plus 2-a-days. So we're in it for 20 weeks so far. But I wouldn't really say anything's really any different. You know, at this point now, I think if anything, it's helped us. You know, having these extra weeks of practice, we've really kind of honed our craft a little bit. And just right now, I feel like we're operating really at a really high level. And I think if we just go out and keep doing what we've been doing the past 15 weeks, stay in front of the sticks, take care of the ball, we're going to be okay.
That's amazing. The time in preparation. So, Brett, we appreciate all that you do and all the other coaches for all your sacrifice for all this time, because oftentimes everyone goes to Coach Hewitt for the interview, but it is the dynamic coaching staff that we have, offense, defense, volunteers, that make this so special, including the parents, because I'm pretty sure that you just had chicken and steak for real at your little meal. Alex is getting sleepy with his little cashmere blanket there. I want to transition to the athletic director who works his tail off 24/7, specifically for the last 2 years. Doug Snyder, let's talk transition to you, because you've been planning the management of this system, but you also want to celebrate the moment. Things you want to ask these guys.
Yes. Hello, everybody. Sorry I'm late. I was watching Coach Dinko coach up the 7th grade boys basketball team tonight. So you'll be happy to know that we were ahead 43-18, and Coach Dinko called a timeout in the 4th quarter. So I'm sure I'm going to get an email about that tomorrow, probably defining what sportsmanship is. But Coach Dinko is in mid-season form. So I apologize for being late. Couple things. Number one, I wanted to check on Drew. Fairly little known fact, he was my TA for 4 years. And in the entire time he was in my office, which goes through thousands and thousands of hours, he probably did not have his shoes on one time. So this is kind of a nice tradition to, because we did this last year with the quarterbacks, and Drew's in a little different role now. So I wanted to kind of check on him, like how it started and how it's going. And last year, I think he was like maybe 1.5 sentences before he ran out of things to say. And I was keeping track, and you got at least up to 2 this year, Drew. So I give you credit for that, and I really love what you've done with your hair.
But are your shoes on?
Are your shoes on, Drew?
My shoes are definitely on right now.
No, they are not.
Cold.
I'm no more questions until I get proof.
Very cold tile floor, so I got my Uggs on right now.
All right, fair enough.
So you said Ugg slippers?
Oh yeah.
And those are probably Heath's.
No, Heath's got his little height booster.
All right.
Those are Aubrey's. What are you talking about?
He's got the lifts in them, right? Ugg's the only manufacturer that puts lifts in their slippers. I have a question for Scott and Brett and Drew. And maybe Zoran and Alex can pull something out of this, but all kidding aside, Drew, you've had a year and Scott and Brett have had a little more than a year to look back on your state championship. Like when you look back on it now, what's either the first thing that pops into your mind or your favorite memory of that game? Anybody can start.
Wow. I would have to say my favorite memory of the game is when they were lining up to kick the field goal in double overtime. And I would say, like, I was kind of behind, so I couldn't really see. So I was looking at the scoreboard. And I just remember hearing somebody's like, he missed. And I saw it on the scoreboard, and I ran out there. And first dude I saw, who's always been there for me my whole life, was Cade McDevitt. So gave him a big hug and tackled him into the pile. And then just kind of a blur from there, just.
Well, I can tell you one thing you did after that, Drew. You went over and offered some words of encouragement to the DeSales kicker, which was a move of no, and it was genuine, and at least I don't think you were talking any smack to him. In my mind, you were not. So I'm not going to ask you what you said, but I'm just going to assume that it was something positive and sportsmanship. So Scott and Brett, what are your memories?
I mean, my biggest memory, and I've said this a lot, is at the end of the game, we didn't want it to end. So we laid there on the Tiger. Our game was played in Massillon, so they had the big Tiger at the center of the field, and me and a couple other guys laid on the Tiger and just laughed and joked and sucked up the end of the game until they literally get us because the bus was leaving, and we didn't want it to end. So that's my biggest memory.
So it's a little bittersweet if I'm hearing you, because the euphoria of a state championship, but also last time you have the uniform on.
Yeah. I mean, just leaving the game and leaving the stadium, and we were just loving it and didn't want it to end.
Brett, what do you think?
Obviously being a part of the '94 state championship as a freshman, I remember that game very well. And then being a part of the game last year, it was really special. I mean, the fact that 2 days before the game, it gets switched back to Massillon from down in Columbus. The game was originally supposed to be down in Columbus. So it was really special to be able to go back and win another one at Massillon. And then as far as some memories from last year, I kind of remember, like in that first drive, their running back just busting loose and thinking, oh man, we're going to have our hands full. But our seniors and our players last year, the one thing I never felt being down on the sidelines, they never, there was just never a doubt that we could get it done. So that was one thing that I think is going to always stick with me. It was really cool. It was a really cool experience.
I won't speak for Coach Hewitt, but I've talked with him about last year's game numerous occasions, and he's one of the things that he will always remember is that when we were down 14 and they called back that hook and ladder on the review. Everybody remembers that, right? It seemed pretty bleak at that point in time. And Coach Hewitt told me that the next day when I talked to him that at that moment, Drew went up to him, slapped him on the butt, which I think is a pretty bold move in and of itself. We would all agree. And Coach Hewitt turned around and looked at him, and Drew looked at Coach and said, "We got this, Coach," and walked down the sideline. And Coach Hewitt told me that from that point on, he's like, "I believe you. We do have that." So, that's something that Coach Hewitt. I didn't know about it that night, but he told me about that the next day, and that's probably something only a senior can do. Would be my guess on that, but that's a memorable thing for Coach from you, Drew. So, guys, Alex and Zoran, you're going to have moments to look back on tomorrow, and I think Drew's the one that said it. Take a moment to soak it in, because it's playing 2 consecutive state championship games is more than most people can even dream about. And you're about to live it. So a couple minutes in the warm up, just look around and soak it in, and then snap the chin strap and let's go.
A couple attaboys to Coach Hewitt.
I would advise maybe only Zorn to do that. Alex, I think I would stay away from that if I were you, at least for another year.
Coach Hewitt can't run me after the season.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Doug Heim, you love your sports. You listened to in the last 20 minutes or so of all this. Do you have any specific questions you want to ask these guys?
Well, I'm on question number 10 now that you and Snyder took all my questions. So, I know what it's like, Snyder, when all the questions are taken, I'll tell you. But I have one for the alumni and one for the current players. The alumni, you talked about advice, but what have you three seen from these two young men this year that said, you know what, I'm proud that they're a quarterback of Chardon, and I think they have an opportunity to do something special. Did you see something this year, Scott, Brett, Drew, when you've come to the game and you've seen Zorn and Alex? Have you seen something special from them that said, you know what, I'm proud that they're a Chardon Hilltopper?
I mean, yeah, I guess I'll go first. I mean, I see leadership. That's the one thing about playing quarterback at any level or any particular team is you got to be a leader at that position, and I see that. I also see a tremendous amount of toughness, to be able to carry the ball all the time and run inside and do a lot of things. I mean, when I played, it's a long time ago, but I didn't really run between the tackles, and you guys run tackles a lot in the tackle, and that takes a tremendous amount of toughness. So I think leadership and toughness is what I see.
Let's keep in mind, Scott, that you had to wear a belly shirt jersey also.
Well,
your belly button was exposed.
Yeah, it was a different time. Yeah, it was a.
You had to wear one of those funny dome things on your helmet too.
Well, yeah, I mean that's how long ago I played. When you got a concussion, they just put a rubber. Put a rubber thing on your head, and you went back in. Now you're out for a week or so. That's how long it is.
Brett, you got anything you want to add to that one?
Yeah, I mean, these guys, having the ability to coach both of these guys through the off season, in the beginning of the season, not really sure at that time who was going to be the starter, but both of these guys have prepared, from the end of last year, they both prepared themselves week in and week out to be the starter. Zorn, amazing leadership. He's always there, having played the position, and kind of going through even some of the stuff that Zorn's going through with, unfortunately not being the starter this year, like I'm sure he wanted to be. I don't really feel there's been any animosity, having been the quarterback and had other people and in the quarterback room with me. He's been nothing but a great teammate to Alex. He's always there when Alex's helmet pops off. To get in there and get some reps, and when he goes in there, he does everything that he's coached to do. I have the utmost respect for both these guys. They've worked really hard, and I'm looking forward to see what happens tomorrow.
Yeah, I'll add on to that. I would say even last year, I saw a lot of leadership out of Zorn, and he's done a great job this year, just taking on every role that's been thrown at him. So that's been really impressive for sure. And Alex, it's been really cool to see you just grow as a player, and having you hanging out with Heath over my house, just to see you grow as a person too, has been really cool. And I'm really proud of you guys, and I'm excited to watch tomorrow for sure.
So Zorn and Alex, you guys have played more games than any other Hilltopper during a season. Was there a moment this year when you realized, you know what, we might have something special like last year? Was there a moment, was there a game where it was like, you know what, maybe we could do something here?
Personally for me, I don't really think there was like a distinct moment, but like coming into the season, our whole senior class was like, we got to prove everyone wrong. So like from the rip, winning those first 3 games that probably not many people thought we were going to win any of them was just like, we probably have something really good here.
I think that week 3 game was definitely probably when I started like seeing like, oh, okay, like we can actually do something. I mean, that Ursuline team is literally playing in a D4 state championship game tomorrow. So that's when I knew we were legit.
Yeah, those first we had a lot of barriers to go through this year, but Glenville week 1, week 2, Snyder, who we got?
Booked on the road.
Buckle,
Buckle.
and then you had Youngstown Ursuline. Monster teams, big boys, which is good because as a coach who's coached at the high level in high school, you want to be the best, you play the best. And you continue to do that at a high level. And you look at all the teams in which you have faced and seeing where they ended up this year, and many of them are certainly went deep into the playoffs. Some are playing tomorrow, and then our neighbors, there in Kirtland, which would be an awesome exhibition, is certainly going for another one. Mr. Ryan, do you have any more questions before we? Ladies are the best, so we're going to save the ladies for the best here at the end.
A turnover to the best.
Oh,
The
yeah.
best, the best. Bondi loves her sports.
I do. I love sports. I actually grew up watching football, playing basketball. I grew up in a home with a dad who coached basketball. So this is all not very new to me. And I don't want to take a lot of time, but I just want to say, current Hilltoppers, I'm so proud of you guys. Zoran and Alex, so proud of you guys. You know, coming into this year, all I knew and all I had heard was, you know, about the state championship last year. I didn't know what to expect at those first few football games. And I agree, Alex, you know, by game 3, I'm going, wow, this is like, you know, this is state championship worthy team again. So it's been really cool to be there. You know, so I do know a little bit about football. I looked up a few, you know, I did some research on the fantasy websites and things like that. I actually was a fantasy football champion one year. I just want you all to know that. And I forget who my quarterback was that year. That's worth looking into. It was a few years back. But so when they're talking about different types of quarterbacks, they kind of fit into like 4 different categories. And I want you to kind of think like where you would fit in this for yourself as a quarterback. So there's the game manager, which is like the Joe Montana type, like the kind of, he could run anything on the team, head of the team, you know, just totally in charge. Like Alex Smith, maybe. Then there's like the improviser, like Baker Mayfield, because he's doesn't always have the most solid line in front of him. He's got to choose where he's going to go and kind of get in there. There's that pocket passer, which is pure Tom Brady right there. He can hang in the pocket for days, and his precision is usually on point. And then there's that like focal point, like Cam Newton can just take off running, you know, at any moment. So like, what would you guys compare yourselves to? I guess we'll start with the 2 currents, like Alex, Zoran. Where do you see yourself with that?
I would say I'm more of like Cam Newton type, I guess. I mean,
I would agree with that.
I
put
wouldn't
you in
say
that
I wouldn't say
category.
I'm like a bad passer, but I like running the ball way more, definitely.
You got sweet lettuce like Cam Newton too.
What'd you say, Zoran?
I'd say probably more so like the game manager one.
I hear that. Yeah, I agree with that. What do you think, Drew? What were you more similar to?
You know, last year, I would say this year too, you guys have like a really good team all around. So I would just say that last year I fit in like the game manager type role. Just did whatever Coach Navs called in, and
That's funny because I hear you tell the girls at Marietta that you're more of a Tom Brady type. That's the word on the screen anyway.
He's wearing Uggs.
Yeah. Scott and Brett.
Scott was definitely the pocket passer.
I was just going to say, yeah, that's what I would say.
You're the Tom Brady.
Right.
He's more the Terry Bradshaw.
What would you say, Brett?
I'd probably have to go with the game manager.
Yeah.
Like Scott, like I said, I mean, with the offense kind of being similar, and I think, Drew alluded to this point earlier, back when I played, the spotlight wasn't just on the quarterback. We had, our fullback, our wings, if I wasn't having a good game or if the defense was taking us away, there was 3 other guys that they had to stop. So it's one of the really nice things about our offense is that, you can't just hang your hat on stopping one person. You got a whole group of guys back there that you have to account for. So yeah, I would say probably game manager.
You guys are all awesome.
And
And it's going to be awesome tomorrow. I'm super excited.
in a perfect transition to that, it would be very important for us to mention that this this opportunity does not come by a single person. But although we're talking about quarterbacks today, I wanted to highlight that because all of us that know all of you, it's so important to talk about that. And often, they get recognized, but it is everybody from the O-line, D-line, D-backs, your fullbacks, halfbacks, even the kicking team, special teams. Everybody plays a role, and that's why they call it, a culture of a program and a team. Today, we're highlighting the quarterbacks. So this gives you an opportunity to give some love out to all those that you want to give support to. So this is the moment where we close the podcast giving shout outs. So we'll start with tomorrow's players, and then we'll go around backwards design to Drew, and then our alum, and then our admin. Zorn and Alex, who would you like to give a shout out to for this week's podcast?
I would definitely have to say the offensive line. I mean, we didn't return anybody. I mean, all of them were playing JV last year. Been waiting 4 years for this moment. I mean, now we're playing in a state championship game. So it just shows how dedicated they were and how much work they put into the offseason.
I'd probably say Ryan Peterson and Michael Washington. Michael plays nose for us. He doesn't really get like any stats because he gets triple teamed every play, but he makes it easy for people like Alex Kisley, McDonald, Cooper Felger to make plays. And then Ryan, he just is super unselfish when he's on offense. He's kind of like how Evan Ash was last year, but just blocking for James.
Coach Whiting.
I love, being an offensive guy. I really want to give a shout out to our defense. Coach Landis does a great job with those guys. They're playing out of their minds. And then, our offensive line has been doing a tremendous job with Coach O, with the lead. Those guys have been, paving the way up front for Carr and Henry and the other backs. And, they really, Coach Hewitt kind of made a point the other day that no one's really played down, their level of potential this year. I really can't, having replaced the whole offensive line basically this year other than Alex McDonald. I mean, those guys have played out of their minds this year, and they're really the reason that, they really make us go on offense. So, shout out to our offensive line too.
No doubt. Scott, who do you want to give a shout out to? You've seen generations of Hilltoppers. You've been watching this year, but who do you want to give a shout out to this year?
I'll give a shout out to the senior class. They're going to get a chance to do that our didn't get a chance to do, which is go back and repeat. So good for you guys. I wish you the best, and I can't wait to see the game tomorrow.
Doug Snyder. Oh, I think you're on mute.
Did we get Drew in there? Are you going to have Drew?
We didn't get Drew in there yet.
That's because he's so quiet.
We're giving him extra
Drew, do you
thinking.
want to go before or after me?
I can go right now. I would say
It'll be quick.
Remember, your consecutive sentence streak is a 2.5. This is a chance for you to break your own record.
I would say it's tough. I would say shout out to my offensive line last year, and especially Nick. Nick Fay was just always a guy that I could look to and count on. run behind him, he'd block, you know. And then, well, speaking of last year still, I'd say shout out to my brother and my dad. You know, they were kind of my therapists and gave great advice to me, especially going into the game last year. And then this year, I would say it's been really fun to watch you guys. Shout out to you guys, you know. You have your opportunity now, so go make it happen and make City proud.
Okay, so my first shout out's to Drew because now your consecutive sentence, you're in double digits. I mean, this is a milestone day. Congrats, Drew. So I think
We lost you, Snyder.
You muted yourself.
Yeah, you moved. There you go.
Mid-sentence.
we have 5 classes worth of Chardon quarterbacks here, which is pretty cool. And one of my favorite memories from last year was when Mr. Murray invited Scott and Drew in there, and like the how it started and how it's going type thing. So this year we have, correct me if I'm wrong on the years here, I think I have this right. Scott, class of 94.
I was my graduating class is 96.
95. And Brett, 98.
Yeah, I graduated 98. I was quarterback in 96, 97.
Okay. Drew, class of 21.
Yes.
Zoran, we're hopeful that you're going to be a part of the class of 22. don't let us down, brother. And then Alex, class of 23. So I think very rarely do you see state champions from 5 senior classes at Chardon High School assembled in one place. To me, this is really cool. Thank you all for everything that you've done for our community and for our school and how you've represented the Hilltoppers. I salute you all.
Bondi or Chaim, you want to go?
I'll go. I'll leave Bondi for the end. I'm going to shout out 2 people. People take these 2 everyone takes these 2 for granted. There's things that happen behind the scenes. There's things that happen before things can even be put in place, and that's Snyder and Murray. The amount of work that these 2 gentlemen put in to just make things happen. People don't even do half of that in their normal week of work. And what these 2 gentlemen are doing, Snyder's trying to balance in the winter season, and some idiot planned a wrestling tournament for Saturday. So he's working on that. And the amount of work that Murray has to do just to get the building prepared for 1,200 students and 100 staff members to be moving in the right direction and know where we're going and when we're going to support our boys. It's just an unbelievable system. I'm proud to work with these 2. And, you know, Amanda, I'm sorry, but the 3 Dougs, you know, it's kind of a special bond we have.
I'm changing my name.
Do you have to be named Doug to work at the school nowadays?
My middle name is now Doug.
It helps.
So I'm just going to kind of echo everything that all of you had said. I know that all of the football players currently are working hard. I appreciate the legacy, Scott and Brett, that you guys have left behind. And then Snyder and Murray, you guys are, I don't know when you sleep, to be honest. So that's amazing. But on top of that, I just wanted my 2 shout outs really go to the senior class, the senior football players, because this is your last game. This is it. And I hope it's every moment of everything you've ever imagined. Soak it all in. And then I have one outside gratitude, and that's to my husband, because he has to put up with me going to all these things. But he's really enjoyed getting to come along with me. So I think it's a perk at this point. I think he's really valuing it. So I look forward to seeing everyone down there tomorrow. It's going to be fun.
I agree. I think everyone knows my heart. I love everything about Chardon, including those who are on this podcast, including generations of Hilltoppers. That's what makes us who we are. And so my shout out is certainly everything that's been echoed, minus myself. I will never give a shout out to myself. But I would love to specifically mention last year's community was essential to that state game. This year, the community, there are no barriers holding you back. And there are 1,123 kids that are being early released at 11:56 tomorrow, along with all of the staff members from the high school that are able to go, and all of the community that I hope is able to have the adjustment in their schedule to go. Let's pack the Hall of Fame Stadium. Let's make our mark, leave our history in the place of football. Seize the things that make us who we are. Regardless of the outcome, everyone is going to know where we're from. So I give my salute to the city of Chardon. Bring the noise tomorrow, and let's go do and finish what we started. Never quit. And let's go Toppers. Guys, thanks for joining us. And let's give a shout out to Brett Weidig's dogs who joined the podcast.
Just the one dog. He's a pain in the butt, man. I'll tell you what.
Sometimes when we have the podcast at Snyder's house, we'd have Floyd with one random bark.
Oh yeah, Floyd's a lover.
So we don't have a special studio. That's why we're using Google. Hey, Drew, do you have finals this week?
Next week I got finals, so I'm good to go for tomorrow.
Good. The rest of you rest up. Alex, wrap that white cashmere around you. Get some rest. And we will see all of you tomorrow at the stadium. And we are going to represent Chardon the way we know how to. Good luck, everyone. And thanks for joining us. Go Toppers.
Thanks everybody for your time.
Go Toppers.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Appreciate it.
My man.